What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Ctrl Over C podcast. I am your co-host, Ike of the Isaacs, and of course, we are joined by Salsa Shark, the one, the only, the depressed Salsa Shark. How are we doing today?
Well, I mean, you perfectly described it. The one, the only, the depressed. You know the whole shtick.
Yeah, you know our. But no, yeah. So it's been a fun weekend, guys. You guys listened to this on Wednesday. We were recording this on Monday, so we've had a chance to reflect on our weekend. And boy, oh boy, we did stream. For those who were concerned or had a question in regards to that, we did stream this weekend. However, Salsa did not turn on the function that would allow the stream to be archived for us to upload to our channel. No big deal, though. We will just do a podcast for you, and then next week we intend to stream probably Battlefield 5 on Sunday, and then we will put that footage up on Wednesday for everybody to enjoy.
I will say, in my defense, how was I supposed to know that you actually had to go in and turn off the turn on the setting in the first place?
That is fair. I feel like that should be an automatic setting because I feel like there's no reason why. Okay, granted, I guess there could be a reason, but in my opinion, at least, generally speaking, there shouldn't be any reason why you wouldn't want a podcast to be, or a stream to be saved. I mean,
exactly. It's literally like the default setting.
Really,
just assume I want it saved, and if not, I'll go in and turn it off. Wow,
yeah.
Holy fucking shit!
Which, are you listening to this? Probably not. But anyways, but that was fun. We just played some Gears of War, nothing too crazy. I think the most that we had at any time was like 4 viewers. So let's hopefully increase that amount. I'll start giving more updates on that, and maybe me and Salsa can kind of determine a specific time that we will stream and whatnot. So that'll be cool.
Something like that, like every Saturday or every Sunday or something. Who knows?
Yeah, it'll just kind of depend on what we feel like doing. Definitely the weekends, though, because I feel like during the week, I'm busy. I know Salsa isn't. So, hey, Salsa, if you want to stream by yourself during the week, you can.
They barely want to see me when I'm with you, so it ain't going to be that interesting when I'm alone. I ain't that good.
Fair. I thought about streaming, but I really don't have the necessary equipment, because if I were going to stream, I show my face on the podcast, and not to say that I would want my face shown in general, but I feel like I would want to show my face if I were to stream. But I honestly, I'm working on getting some equipment. I was looking on what was it? I was looking on Amazon the other day at capture cards, and there are some that are not too bad, and they'll record like up to 1080. So, I mean, and it was only like 40, 50 bucks, I think.
It's not bad.
I'll say that I read the reviews, and all the reviews were pretty good. There were a couple that were like, oh, it came to me broken. But I mean, if it comes to you broken, you just fucking return it for a new one. I don't know why you'd give them a 1-star review on that.
Fair enough. I will say sometimes it's like, oh, I received it broken. Here, will you please take this back and give me a working one? And then the sender literally just sends you an email that says, fuck off and die? Question mark?
You like, kill yourself?
Have you considered not living?
Have you considered committing not alive?
This wouldn't be a problem if you weren't breathing.
Oh, man, that's beautiful. But yeah, I mean, that is fair. I can't remember what it was. My one of our mutual friends, he I don't know if you remember this, but I'll just call him Z. Remember he ordered something from like eBay, and it was from like some Chinese company, and it took them like years to get him a refund.
I remember that. It was something dumb too, like a hat.
It was like a Pikachu hat, wasn't it? Or some shit like that.
It was something so inane that shouldn't have taken more than like 5 days to process.
But like he basically like he ordered it from somebody, and then like he contacted the seller, and the guy was just like, I sent it. I mean,
literally in the time it took them to receive his refund request to when they actually gave it to him, Hong Kong went from being officially recognized as a sovereign state to being under attack by the CCP. A whole ass riot happened between then and then.
So real quick, I just have to say something really cute has happened. My wife came into the room with a Post-it note and said, "Can we get McDonald's when you're off work?" So
Hell
just
yeah, brother.
just so you guys know, this is what true love is. Anyways, but you are correct. And honestly, I was gonna compare it to my current job. With my current job, I work. I'm not gonna say what I do because I feel like I might be giving away like proprietary knowledge, and I may be silenced. But uh, they the entity that I work for, it has a government contract, and specifically we work in some way with the Department of Treasury. And even when you work with the government, because everybody knows the government works at a snail's fucking pace. Even when working with the government, when like we work with the Treasury to get like a refund or something, it at max will take 4 to 6 weeks. So if if the government can give people's money back in 4 to 6 weeks, this random dude in China should have been able to refund like the $20 that Z spent on that fucking hat, dude. Oh my god.
I mean, as a rule of thumb, if you work slower than the U.S. government, you have exceeded the limitations of ineptitude.
Like, look, our standards were low, really, really low. But you really fucked the pooch on this one, man.
What a time to be alive.
But anyway, so that's a fun topic. I customer service, man. That's where it's at. Where the heart lies. But salsa. I remember because this is just a little bit of an offshoot here. But I remember Salsa. You used to work for a. I'm not going to say the name of the company, but you used to work for a lumber yard as a security man. Did you ever have to? Did you ever have any crazy people come to the lumber yard?
I've got more stories of crazy people than I have hands and toes, and that's easily over 30.
All right. How about you just give us one? Just one. What would you say is the one? Like, if you were to go to a party, not to say that you do go to parties, but if you were to go to a party, what would be the one you pull out to wow your friends if you had any?
Well, first off, ow. Secondly, I remember there was one instance that really kind of piqued my made my brain do stuff, and I was standing there in the guard shack, minding my business, as a security guard does. And a man rolls up. A man who historically, I don't know, he claims he went to school to be a lawyer. I don't believe him.
Oh, that sounds like a likely story.
Yeah, it's like, come on, dude. You want me to believe you were almost a lawyer, and yet here you are buying, like, wooden shingles for your shed? Okay, I guess that's not fair. Lawyers sometimes do hard work, too.
I was going to say, I mean, to be fair, if a lawyer, had, like, side jobs or anything like that, that could work. But, full projects. But continue your story.
Nah, this guy was a contractor. You could see it. But point is, he comes in, and he hands me a sheet, and he's looking for, I don't know, something cedar. I think cedar timber. And I'm like...
Yeah, cedar.
The good shit, the expensive shit. Every time he would come in and buy it, he would complain about how expensive it is. And he'd be like, oh, you know why it's so expensive? And I'm like, I know, because you've told me the last 20 times, but say it again. Just for memory's sake. And he's like, it's because we're cutting them down faster than we can grow them. And I'm like, cool story. Just go get your shit.
For somebody who has a law degree, your understanding of supply and demand is pretty low.
I'm just like, whatever, man. I'm a security guard. I'm not here to debate economics with you. So one day, he comes in. He's always a riot. Not in a good way. I mean, literally, he is annoying. He causes trouble. He yells at people. In fact, I think the last time he was allowed in there, he accused the manager of being racist towards him.
Was he like black or something?
Oh no, he was white. The manager was black. And literally, it was like the best manager. The one who everyone loved. So, hard to believe, but... so this one day he comes in, and this was right before he got kicked out. permanently. And he's like, I'm here to get cedar. And I'm like, yeah, cool. And as he's starting to drive past, I think, man, he smelled a little funny. And then I noticed the can he was holding was an open beer can.
Oh
So,
God.
so this guy's drinking and driving. And I'm like, what do I do? So I call back to the lumberyard and I say, listen, I just noticed, but the guy went back. It's the guy who always gives us shit. He's drinking. So you do what you have to. And he comes back out not much longer. And he's all in a tussle. And in the meanwhile, while he was back there, I heard a couple calls over the radio. I didn't pay much attention to them because they weren't directed towards me.
Right.
But I was like, man, there's a lot of traffic going on back there. Probably nothing. As he's coming out, he's in a hurry. So I quickly scan all the stuff, and right before he leaves, he's like, oh, that motherfucker back there, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, wow, sounds like y'all had a fight. He leaves. I don't know if he was arrested for drinking and driving. But come to find out, as one of the guys is like, hey, you remember that guy you let back here earlier? I'm like, yeah, the guy getting the cedar. He's like, yeah, he came back here and literally was throwing punches at one of our yard guys.
What the fuck?
I'm just like, man, if I knew that was going to happen, I swear to God, I wouldn't have let him in. And he was like, oh, it's not your fault. He probably would have thrown punches at you too.
You're like, I would have beat his ass.
I think you're going to throw punches at security? Damn, that's a risky move.
You know, for clarification too, and obviously I'm not going to give too many details, but you know, Salsa is like 6 foot. He's a pretty big dude. Yeah, I don't know if I would. I don't know if I'd square up to Salsa. I've known him for a while, so I mean, that could have been an interesting story had something happened.
I mean, best case scenario, he gets his ass kicked because I outweighed him. I was taller than him, and dude probably had an ounce of muscle across his whole body. Dude looked like, and I say this kindly, you know, I don't mean this to be mean, but he looked like a meth addict. He had nothing on him.
Like no clothes, or do you mean like?
I mean, he had clothes sometimes. He was sometimes shirtless. But no, he had like no muscle, no fat. His teeth were gross. Okay.
I was gonna say he sounds like he's like corpse.
He kind of was, to be honest. I was surprised he didn't smell like rot. But no, best case scenario would have got his ass kicked. Worst case scenario, I would have had to bust out the baton.
I know that you used the baton with you before, so oh man.
Yeah, I'd switch it up. Some days a baton, some days a knife, some days a stun gun. You never know. I like to keep it fresh, you know?
Just fucking, you know, Commando Pro this guy's ass on the throat.
Gonna fucking Sam Fisher his ass.
That's beautiful. Well, I feel like since we're on the topic of customer service, because you know why the fuck not? I work in a call center setting. I'm not going to say what I do specifically, but let's just say that
he's a phone sex worker.
Exactly, but the people who call in here, they're usually pretty pissed off. And one of the most basic things about you, especially if you have like any kind of account anywhere. So like, if you have a phone account, you have a phone account number, right? Or they typically can pull you up by your social security number, because most places will have your social security number, generally speaking. So typically, if you call them,
that's comforting.
Well, I mean, if you sign up for like, I mean, I maybe not your cell phone, but like, if you sign up for, government assistance, or if you sign up for like a car, for instance, they have to have your social security number for a car. And so like if you buy a car and then you call the bank or something like that, and then you're like complaining about, I called in the other day and they wouldn't. Anyways, the point I'm getting at is that sometimes when you have like accounts and stuff, your social security number will be attached to that account. And where I work, that's there, it's the same process. Either you can either provide us your social security number or your account number, It's for account security. I had this guy call in, and he didn't want to speak with a normal agent, so he requested to speak with a supervisor, and that's basically what I am. I take soup calls. So he call gets transferred to me, and I say, hey, can I have your account number or social security number? And he is basically, I may have told you the story, but he called me the N word. Like from the get go, was like, listen here, you N word. He's like, I'm not gonna give you my goddamn social security number or my account number. He's like, you can go to hell. I said, okay, sir. There's no reason to use vulgarities with me. I said, if you don't wish to provide your account number or social security number, I said you can always self-service through our website. And he goes, I didn't want to do that. He's like, you can help me. He's like, I need a new payment plan. I said, sir, I can't even see your information. I need information from you. He's like, no, you don't. He's like, here's the first digit of my social security number. And he's like, it's the number 1. What the fuck? I literally,
sir, you're putting me in a bit of a tough spot, okay?
I literally told him, I said, sir, we service hundreds of thousands of people, possibly even millions. I don't know the real number. I said, what we do here has such a large range in demographic. Your first digit of your social security number is not going to do shit for me. And he was all pissed off, but yeah, literally first thing he pulled the N card. I mean,
you gotta hit hard and fast with the racism.
Apparently, it really, but yeah. So that was a fun time. And he eventually just hung up because I was like, dude, I cannot see anything. You have to give me something to work with. And he was basically like, no, you can pull me up. You can pull me up. I'm like, sir, I'm literally telling you I can't. I don't want to talk to you any more than you want to talk to me. If I had a way of getting your information pulled up, I would have done it by now.
Hey, come on, man. Just work with me, please.
Seriously. But yeah, so that's always a fun time. But man, working in customer service is really wild. It really is. Especially, I would be remiss to say that people are especially shitty now with the pandemic. So like, the calls and the escalations that we get now are like so much worse than they were before. Like people are so rude, which you'd think that they wouldn't be, but they are.
It ain't customer service unless you want to rip your hair out.
That is absolutely true. Anyways, so that being said, I guess we should talk about something gaming related. And as always, we like to complain here. So,
hell yeah.
We're going to get right into the complaint department. Salsa, you had something on the agenda. You said Mirror's Edge. What do you want to complain about with Mirror's Edge? Now, mind you, for people who don't know, Mirror's Edge is essentially a parkour simulator.
Well, come on, there's a little bit of story there.
There is. And don't get me wrong, I actually really enjoyed Mirror's Edge. I remember Salsa had the game for the Xbox 360, and he let me borrow it a couple times, and it's pretty legit. They have there's actual weapon mechanics and evade mechanics and fight mechanics. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, so it's not just parkour simulator. But what's your complaint about Mirror's Edge?
All right, so basically, I loved Mirror's Edge.
Yep.
Granted, it had a lot of flaws, tons of them, but the game held up to a degree. Played it again recently, beat it in a day because it's short as hell.
Right.
And then I was like, well, I've got Xbox Game Pass. So that means I have access to EA Access, which means I can download Mirror's Edge Catalyst.
Yeah, the second one.
Yeah, the second one. Made it a couple years ago, so it's pretty new. So start playing the game, and for one, it's better in every way. It controls better. There's so much more variety. It's open world in a way, so you can actually choose which path to actually go through.
Yeah, I'll say the first one was definitely really, really. It was pretty linear, I will say.
Yeah, it was like, all right, here's point A, here's point B. You can kind of choose whether you want to go over the fence or under it, but other than that, fuck you. This game is actually here, you can set a waypoint on your map, and then it'll show you the optimal route, but you can go however the fuck you want. Cool game. I love it. I'm playing it. And it starts out, and I remember none of these characters, just except for the main character, Faith.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the only character I remember.
Exactly. So I'm like, okay, Faith, I remember her. None of the other characters are there. Merc's not there. Celeste's not there. No one. Literally no one I can remember. Not the police chief. Even her sister. And I'm like, well, this is weird. And then they start showing flashbacks from her childhood. And it shows her sister. And then they say her name, and I can't remember what her name is. But I'm like, wait a minute, wasn't her sister... That wasn't her name in the first game. What's going on here? I keep playing the game. I get all the way to the end. And I'm like, that lines up not at all with the first game. It took me beating the game and Googling it to find out it's not a sequel. It's a remake.
No shit.
Exactly. It took me that long and being pissed off like, where are all the characters? I remember none of these people. So, I don't know, man. I'm just saying, I feel like if they're going to remake the first game, somewhere on the cover, it should say remake.
I was going to say, I mean, that honestly just seems like a fucking cash grab. I mean, they're just trying to basically make as much money as they possibly can to by you just basically remaking the same game. So they pretty much had all of the story elements already there. They basically just plugged it into a better engine. So I mean, at least the game was better, though. I guess that's one, one positive.
Don't get me wrong. It's not a one-for-one remake. It's more like a reimagination. The story is completely different. Instead of you just being some runner who's trying to find out information about why your sister's been arrested, it's suddenly, oh, you're a free runner who just got out of juvie, and I don't know. You thought your sister died when you were a kid, but really she's still alive somewhere. It's different, but I don't know. My only complaint is that if you're going to remake a game, even if it's a good remake, you should put somewhere on the cover of the game, or even in the description, hey, this is a remake. Simple as that. Don't go into this thinking you're going to understand jack shit.
No, that's what I was going to say too, is, I mean, having some transparency probably would be beneficial.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm stupid as hell, but come on.
You're like, come on, man. Don't make me feel stupider.
Don't do me like that.
Oh, man. But, I mean, that's good, though. I mean, at least the game was fun. Like you said, I guess maybe if anybody listens to this, they will have the cognizance that you were not granted when you went to play that game.
I'm telling you, great game. Highly recommend it for anybody. But just know what you're getting into.
Right. Oh, man. But hey, that Games Pass, though, you get basically can pay a couple bucks and play a bunch of games for free. I will say, and actually the next thing I wanted to talk about was complaining about Xbox Live and PlayStation Plus. But I will say that I am growing on the concept of a Games Pass, because I do like the fact that you can play these games. You can download them, play them to their completion, just as long as you have the Games Pass. And even if you don't have Games Pass, it'll save your save data in the cloud, so that way when you get Games Pass again, you can start up where you left off. So I'm coming around on the concept of the Games Pass, but I still think that it is very audacious of of both of these companies to implement basically pay to play online. Now, obviously, and Salsa will probably maybe be able to clarify this for me. But in the Xbox 360 days, I didn't think that you had to have Xbox Live to play online. But if you had Xbox Live Gold, you could access additional online features like the voice chat and stuff like that. Now, am I wrong? Or did you have to have Xbox Live to play online?
To my knowledge, I think... I don't know when it was, but I do believe that there was a time when you could play online for free. And this was like original Xbox and a little bit into the 360. But I ain't gonna lie, most of our lives have been, pay to play, even when we were kids, I remember they introduced Xbox Live Gold, and then since then it's been nonstop. You can't do jack shit without it.
Well, because I thought that when in the final days of Xbox 360, you could play online. If I remember correctly, I thought that you could play online, but I want to say that. Yeah, I want to say that in the final days of like Xbox 360, like when they still had some of the servers open, because I know they still do, but like when they made the Xbox One, I feel like they made Xbox 360 free to play online because I can boot up Modern Warfare 2 on my Xbox and I can play online even without Xbox Live. So maybe I'm confusing like the timelines here, but I feel like now it's free to play online. Or maybe not. I don't know.
What's free to play online?
Like just anything. Like for instance, like I said, I can open up Modern Warfare 2, and basically it's an Xbox 360 game. So it basically uses your Xbox One as essentially an Xbox 360 emulator to play an Xbox 360 game. So when I do that, previously when I didn't have Xbox Live Gold, like I could still play Modern Warfare online but it's a 360 game.
I don't know, man. The more I'm looking at it, I'm not seeing. Obviously, at one point, you could play online for free. I don't think it was for the majority of the Xbox 360's lifespan. Because I remember we would have to pay to play online.
Well, I remember doing that too. I'm talking about like now. Like if you have an Xbox 360 right now.
No, it looks like you still have to pay.
See, that's weird because like I said, the other day I booted up Modern Warfare 2 on my Xbox One. And this was before we activated that trial for Ultimate Games Pass. But I booted up my Xbox One with the Modern Warfare 2, and this is maybe like a month or two ago. And I was playing online with people because I remember there were a bunch of hackers, and one of the hackers got pissed off at everybody in the lobby, and he de-leveled everybody in the lobby back down to level 1. And I was really pissed because I was like I was almost like at the point where I could prestige. So I was like, what the fuck? But
yeah, anyways, I don't know, man. What day was this?
It was like on a weekend. It was like a couple months ago. I'm trying to remember what time frame. It was like end of September, I want to say. It was when I did this.
I'll say nothing I'm seeing says nothing I'm seeing says you can play online without gold. Maybe it was still around the time I had gold.
I don't think so because obviously we share a console, so we kind of get to play each other's games and benefit off each other's gold / ultimate. But no, I don't think you did because I think this was around the time that you were flat ass broke and you couldn't do it.
Shit, I'm still flat ass broke.
Sorry, 1 second here.
I see what you're trying to say. I'm looking at it up, and I'm not seeing any.
Maybe
answers.
since I'm playing it through an Xbox One, maybe. But irregardless, my point I wanted to get to is that I think especially in today's day and age, when consoles are costing literally $500, the concept of having to pay to play online is ridiculous. I feel like Xbox could still sell fitting you. But I feel like it's ridiculous. I paid you $500 for the console. I paid you $70 for the fucking game. Could be like
I kind of agree, though I do think it's kind of different. Because, for one, as you remember, in our lifetime, Xbox has only been hacked a few times. PlayStation, who allows free online play, have literally been hacked dozens of times that I can remember. PlayStation is getting hacked.
But PlayStation doesn't allow free online play. You have to have PlayStation Plus to play online now.
Oh yeah, now. But a few years ago, nah.
Right.
All you had to do was just make an account.
Right. But sorry, my brain just paused for a second. But yeah, like during like the PlayStation 3 days, you could play online for free. Because I remember I had one of the Call of Duty games for PlayStation 3 when I had a PlayStation 3 very briefly. And I could play online for free. But yeah, but no, you are correct that, I mean, they have been hacked in the past, but I feel like it wasn't necessarily because they didn't have good security. Honestly, there are a lot of theories around like how and why they got hacked, but they have more than made up for it. I mean, I will say that they've done quite a bit to try and like make up for the fact that shit happened. I will say this: one of the things I was going to bring up, kind of in regards to this, is that everybody knows the game, the Modern Warfare Warzone, right? It's a free game. You can download it on PlayStation, Xbox, or PC. It's free to play. And on PlayStation and PC, you download the game and you can just play it online. You don't have to have a subscription. You don't have to have PlayStation Plus. But on Xbox, you have to have Xbox Live Gold to play it online, which I feel like is ridiculous. I feel like if it's a free-to-play game, you shouldn't have to pay them money to play online.
It's a tough one, I don't like that I have to pay this much to play online. I definitely think that Xbox has a very aggressive pricing chart. And, PlayStation obviously has changed, and they do require you to pay to play online now. But I agree. I do think that moving forward, we should find ways to reduce that cost. Because it shouldn't be, you have to pay X amount of money just to get the full value of your game.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I mean, I like when you purchase, for instance, if you buy like right now, if you were to go buy an Xbox, pardon me, basically, 1 second here. Sorry, bear with me a moment.
I would kill for one of the new Xbox, to be honest.
I mean, same. I would 100% kill somebody for the new Xbox. But no, what I was getting to is if you were to go out right now and you were to buy the new Xbox Series X, right? That's a $500 price point. Okay. You buy this console for $500, and then you buy Call of Duty, the new Call of Duty game. I don't know how much money that is. I think it's like $60. So you spend almost $600 on the console and the new game. Now, obviously, barring any free shit you might get with it, because I don't know, the game may give you like a free trial to Xbox Live or whatever the hell. But barring any possible free trial you may get, you're dropping almost $600 for a game and a console that you can't even use to its fullest extent because Xbox wants you to pay more money, basically. And I just feel like that's silly. I feel like if I spend $60 on a game, now mind you, I want to break this down for people, and I feel like this is like the biggest issue of capitalism. Obviously, I don't want to get too much into that, but if I buy a $60 game and what's the median income in the United States? Like
not fucking much.
let's see. So the median income in the U.S., the median household income is like 68,000, but I don't feel like that's correct. What's the average income up at that? The average U.S. household income is 87. How?
Are you looking at median, average, or mean?
Well, mean and average are the same thing, but I mean,
Not that I recall.
the mean, median, and mode. Mean is it's an average. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what the average income is because I don't know what the average income is in 2020.
Yeah, I'm just gonna Google median income by year. According to this, 20. Wow, why does it start at 2012? God, these charts are terrible. Okay, so going back to 2020, median household income is $68,000 for 68,000. Let's just say that.
Okay, so let's use 68,000. So if you make $68,000, divide that by 52, divide that by 40. That's $32 an hour. I don't make $32 an hour. I
Well,
make
you have to remember, this is the median, and it takes into account people who are really fucking rich.
right. Okay, so I feel like an average income is like $40,000 a year. I feel like if you work like a I don't even know, like if you work just like a standard job, you would probably make around $40,000. But I mean that's still pretty low, all things considered. Um, so if let's say you make $40,000 a year, that's $19 an hour. So if you buy a $60 game, that is 3.15 hours of your life that you just spent on that game. So I feel like people don't understand that, like, average folks are the people who buy these consoles typically. People like me and Salsa who, we have the daily grind. Obviously Salsa is not working right now, but that's for completely other questions and issues. Irregardless of that, basically, you're basically spending 3 hours of your life purchasing this game, okay? And then let's not even talk about the fact that you spent $500 on an Xbox, which is 26 hours of your life, which is 3 days worth of work. You just spent 3 days worth of income on purchasing an Xbox, and I just feel like it's very I don't even know what the phrase is for this, duplicitous maybe. That
Big word, man. I don't know.
maybe that is. I don't know. The other day you said something about hubris, and that brought to mind for a moment. Maybe that might be the yeah, hubris is excessive pride or self-confidence. I feel like Xbox and Microsoft has this incredible hubris where they think that they can produce something and they can and then basically that the average Joe is just going to purchase it and say nothing. But I mean, seriously though, it's still, I feel like it's still a very valid question. It's still a very valid question when we mention the fact that, you're spending a lot of money on these products to basically you're not getting a full return unless you spend more money. You know what I mean?
I see what you mean. Like, if I'm spending this much money, it really feels like they are trying to squeeze every penny out of you on top of that expense. And
Right.
it's unjust. It's basically gouging in a way.
It really is. Because, I mean, if you think about it, like you said, you sent this big, long, you basically spent all this money on this console and on this game, and they're basically just like, oh, by the way, you have to add, we're creating another monthly expense if you want to be able to play your games to the fullest. Is essentially what they're saying, because it's either monthly or yearly or I mean, there are different ways you can renew it, and obviously if you're able to drop another $60 or whatever, you can buy a year's worth of membership. But even then, I feel like it's also classic rich people syndrome to think that we can just drop $60-$70 on something like that to save money, but we can't. You know what I mean?
It's one of those things that, while I don't particularly like it, I understand why they do it. It is basically gatekeeping the online community to ensure that they can afford, proper security, proper maintenance, proper servers and whatnot, while also keeping out the riffraff. It's like at one of our favorite amusement parks. They used to have no gates. It was, you can walk in and look at anything, eat at the restaurants, didn't have to buy a ticket. Now, you have to buy a ticket just to get in the door, which, ensures that the place isn't too crowded. You can go wherever you want without finding that long of a line, because people are no longer wanting to just wander into the park because they can't.
I mean,
So,
and while that's true, I think there's also, and I don't think, I mean, I feel like we can say the name of the park. I feel like that's not going to, yeah, because neither of us live anywhere near that. So for people who don't know, there's an amusement park called Indiana Beach in Monticello, Indiana. That's like by Gary. It's almost Chicagoland.
yeah, dude, I don't know where it is, honestly.
It's Northwest Indiana. So Indiana Beach, I love Indiana Beach, and honestly, they're getting better. I mean, I feel like this last year we went, even though it was COVID. This was obviously before COVID exploded, second time. We went. We obviously social distance. We wore masks. They were only operating at like 50% capacity, if I remember correctly. Like Indiana Beach was like legitimately doing all the things that they needed to do to keep everybody safe. And it was right after my wedding, so we went, and I feel like it was nice. It was really nice. The park was nice. They like legitimately the company that purchased it, but like revamped it. But years ago, like Salsa said, they put up a gate, like basically they put up a fence around the park, so that way if you want to enter the park, you basically have to purchase a day pass. But it used to be like a boardwalk. You could purchase a day pass to, you know, go in there. You could eat all the food stands and everything else. But yeah, there's an issue where people would just kind of wander in there and just meander around and play the boardwalk games, and it did feel more crowded. But definitely their attendance suffered because of it, I will say.
I will say it's a great analogy because it represents the two sides of the arguments. The people who want that fence basically say, I'm paying to come here, and I don't want my experience to be muddled by people who don't want to pay to get in. It's like with Xbox Live, you pay to play online, and if they just give it out for free, the server's going to be full, they're going to get bogged down by new players, and they're going to be bogged down by people who can't otherwise afford Xbox Live. And
So,
then
but
I can see the other side of the argument, though, that being on the outside looking in, you're like, this is bullshit. They're literally just charging me to gain entrance for something that should be free, just walking around. Why am I having to pay for that? So I get it.
But at the same time, it's like this, because I guess it also brings up a whole nother issue of basically and obviously this could be just an interpretation, but they're essentially punishing people who can't afford the service. So
I don't know, because I feel like punishing usually means taking away something. For example, if you are a child and you're being a little brat, a little bitch baby, a little piss goblin, whatever.
A little piss goblin.
Little bitch baby. And you're being a dick.
Salsa's a piss baby.
Hey. Just a couple times, okay?
Fair enough. Continue.
But let's say you're being an asshole and your mom says, hey, I'm punishing you by taking away your, I don't know, whatever kids play with, your fidget spinners. That's punishment. Would it still be punishment if your mom said, fine, because you're being an asshole, you are not allowed to walk, I don't know, downtown? It's like, well, I don't live downtown. I have to go out of my way to get to downtown. And even then, I'm broke. So if I go to downtown, I'm just going to be looking around. Is it really a punishment then?
So let me do this. So punishment is the infliction or imposition of a penalty as retribution for an offense. So I guess that, or just the penalty inflicted. So here would be my justification, I guess. I think that the perceived offense in this situation is that certain people can't afford Xbox Live. Basically, the perceived offense on behalf of the company is the fact that I can't afford Xbox Live right now. And then the in turn penalty for that offense is that I cannot go online, right? So I obviously, I guess this does require some. So I don't want to say mental gymnastics, because typically mental gymnastics is used in a negative connotation. But I feel like there is some level of mental gymnastics that you have to be able to work to kind of understand where I'm coming from.
Well,
because
if I may intervene, the way you're explaining it seems like a slippery slope. Because by that same logic, charging entry fees or making people pay for anything at all is a punishment for them not having money in a way.
But see, it's not, because it basically. All right, so let me. I see where you're going with that, and it could be a slippery slope if you had not already spent almost $600 to get to this point. Is basically what I'm saying.
And I get that. You're paying for a product and the service being them building that product. But would it not also make sense that you are paying for the service of well-moderated servers and good protection and security?
Well, honestly, if I'm being honest, for the amount of money that I have to pay to purchase a console and a video game, because when you pay for these video games, you're not paying. I mean, you are paying the video game creator, but you're also paying a very large dollar price point to the to Xbox and PlayStation, because there are certain licensing fees and everything else that you have to pay when it comes to purchasing a game that you can play on Xbox. That's why there are some games you can't play on Xbox, because it is specifically licensed to PlayStation. So when you purchase these games, there are certain fees that you're paying towards the company itself. So I feel like there's enough money there for everything to be well moderated. I feel like, again, it's just hubris. It's just them basically wanting to dip their wick in the pot again, and it's just, I don't know. Because I understand what you're saying, but I also feel like in order for what you to be saying to be 100% true, I feel like we would have to see that. Basically, we would have to see like a comparison. Like, would they have enough money to still supply the same quality of services if they remove the price point specifically for Xbox Live? And something tells me that they should, in theory, have enough money, because of the cost of the console and the cost of every other licensing and everything else that they do. I mean, they do all kinds of merchandising. I mean, their parent company is Microsoft, for God's sake. I mean, you know what I mean?
Well, if I may throw in my own kind of playing devil's advocate, I would be remiss to not point out that with the Xbox X Series or Series X, Microsoft is losing money when they sell those at $500, because they're made with top-of-the-line internals, state-of-the-art SSD technology. It costs a lot of money to make, and they're not getting much back on that. most of their money they're getting back is from selling their games and selling their online service. And even then, they're not making much off the online service. So I can understand that I'm getting a good deal for the console. It's a lot of money out of my pocket, and I hate being poor, but that is kind of fucked up that I live in a society that would keep me struggling to make money because I can't afford to get a job, and I can't get a job because I have no experience. Can't get experience because I don't have a job. And either way, I make no money. You get that. Plus, COVID. So fuck that. But I can understand that these things cost money because there are people working who need paid. So I'm fine paying $5 a month for Xbox Live because it's not much money. Yeah, I have to save it up all at once and pay for the $60 to get the $5 a month breakdown. But
Right.
I'm okay with that. I think the biggest people who are at fault are not Xbox themselves for the console that they're selling at a loss, or they're not terribly priced online. I think it's the game developers. Because in the past, you got your money's worth. You pay $60 and you get everything $60 entails. A full story worth at least X amount of hours, all this bonus content. And yeah, occasionally back in the day, you would pay us $5 and we'll give you a 25 map pack or some dumb shit. But now it's like, pay us $70. We'll give you a game that's 2-hour gameplay for the main story, and literally the rest of the game is a grindy bullshit multiplayer experience.
Right. But I would, however, interject that, when we talk about Xbox Live, we're talking solely the cost that the console developer is implementing for us to utilize the online multiplayer of the games that we purchased. So I would agree that a lot of game companies have gotten to the point now where they've gotten to the point now where they basically will just make some bullshit game that really makes absolutely no fucking sense. They'll charge you $70 for it, and basically they're just like, go fuck yourself, right?
Yeah.
So I agree. I feel like the game companies themselves are creating games that are not worth the cost that we're being charged. I would 100% agree with that. I would agree that the game developers need to really step up their game because we're approaching a precipice where the game itself is not worth the cost. And I would agree with that. But I do not think that removes any liability from Microsoft or Sony for implementing an additional charge for me to play that game's basically to play the full game. Because nowadays, a lot of games have a multiplayer and a single player. All of the Call of Duty games have a multiplayer and a single. The single player story mode is maybe 10 hours tops. And that's if we're going with like the really complex ones. Like Modern Warfare was a pretty long story mode, to be fair. I don't really know if that's the same for Cold War. 10 hours is even a really accurate estimate. But irregardless, you are playing, but what you're paying for with most Call of Duty games is the multiplayer, right? Most of the time at least nowadays, you pay for these games for the multiplayer and everything else. So with Modern Warfare, there are 3 game modes. There's technically 4 if you include Warzone, but
Yeah, but fuck Warzone.
Well, I guess to be fair, it is Modern Warfare Warzone. So there are 4 game modes with Modern Warfare. Okay, one of them's free to play, irregardless if you own the actual game, and then the other 3 are with the game itself. So when you buy Modern Warfare, you get the story mode, you get the multiplayer mode, and then you get a co-op mode. The co-op mode is like survival and sort of like Modern Warfare 3 had, and then there's some other things you can do in there. So in order to play online with somebody else, they also have to own the game, and then you also have to have that PlayStation Plus. So for me to enjoy, I would say, if I have an Xbox and I buy Modern Warfare and I get these 4 things with it, in order for me to enjoy 75% of the game to its full extent, I have to have Xbox Live. So I basically spent $60 on a game, and I'm only getting 25% of that game without spending more money. And that's not a paywall implemented by the game developer, because like we mentioned, you can play Warzone for free on PlayStation Plus. So it's not a paywall that's being implemented by the game developer. It's a paywall that's being developed by the console, like the people who own, like the console maker, if that makes sense.
I see what you're saying, but the problem with that line of reasoning is that you could also make the same argument that if the game company know they're going to lock this content behind a paywall, why not make a game that has no content they can lock behind a paywall?
And that would be a fair assignment if it were not for the fact that these games are known for their online content. Like, I'm sorry, but you can't have a Call of Duty game without some form of multiplayer. I mean, Call of Duty's had multiplayer since fucking Call of Duty Finest Hour, all right? Like, Call of Duty is known for its multiplayer. So while I would agree that in some cases their game developer is going to get to a point where they're just going to have to focus more on the single player experience like they did in the old days. And I do
think
think
it's been a long time coming, honestly. I mean, too much nowadays we're focusing on multiplayer. And people are just... Call of Duty literally at one point said, fuck it, we're going to get rid of the single player. And remember how people revolted saying, hey, fuck you. I can't remember who was in charge at that time.
Probably Activision or whatever the other fucking company was. Not Niantic. Treyarch?
That's it, Treyarch. It was either Activision or Treyarch, and they were like, hey, fuck you. I'm paying you $60 goddamn dollars. I expect a full game, including multiplayer and of campaign.
Right.
I don't remember what game it was they tried to pull that shit on.
I want to say it was one of the ones, like it was maybe Black Ops 3 or maybe Advanced Warfare or Infinite Warfare. It was one of the futuristic ones. I know that.
So you mean one of the bad ones?
Right. Don't get me wrong. I will say that I enjoyed them to an extent, but there was no Modern Warfare 2. It was no Black Ops. Black Ops or Black Ops 2, those were both really good games. But you are right. I think that it is a long time coming for developers to actually have to develop good games. I feel like for a long time that we've just been okay with these really shitty games. I mean, let's be honest. Like, I would say that Modern Warfare is probably the first Call of Duty game that I've purchased since Black Ops 2. Like, realistically, like I've not really played any of the in-between games. Like, I think I bought Advanced Warfare because it was in like a clearance section at Five Below for like $5. So
sounds about right.
I bought Advanced Warfare at Five Below for like $5 just because I was like, I don't have any other games I'm playing right now, so might as well. But and here's the thing, and I'm going to talk about it again. I'm going to give it some more praise, but there are good single player games. Look at
don't you fucking say it.
Look at Horizon Zero fucking Dawn.
You're fucking dead to me.
Horizon Zero Dawn is a gorgeous single player experience. Honestly, I wish that they had some kind of multiplayer or that there was some more any more content, because I have essentially, this is the first time I've ever done this. I have 100% of that game. I have put like 80 hours into that game, and I love it. I literally will sometimes just boot that game up because I love the game so much. And I'm so excited for the next installment. I do wish that there was some kind of multiplayer aspect, because I feel like that you could make something really cool, like a co-op mode or something like that,
Perhaps.
But obviously I understand that some games are better just as a single player experience, and I'm definitely fine with that. And and I'm excited for Forbidden West, which is supposed to come out this next year. And it's been confirmed now that Forbidden West will be on the PlayStation 4, so I don't have to buy a fucking PlayStation 5.
Shit, dude. Just if I were you, I would just get the Xbox X Series.
I am going to. I'm going to get the Xbox X Series because I purchased the PlayStation 4 mostly because it was on Black Friday, and there were some games that I wanted to play. Like, I wanted to play God of War. The Last of Us 2 was coming out. I still want to play it. I know a lot of people said it was shitty, but I do still want to play it. But The Last of Us 2 was coming out. God of War was coming out. and I even wanted to kind of play Horizon Zero Dawn, and it was included in the game package that I bought. But yeah, I am going to get the Xbox Series X, but I don't know.
It doesn't help that as of right now, the PS5, all of their launch games are available on the PS4 anyways.
Yeah, and honestly, don't get me wrong, I like that. I think that's good, but I don't think it's kind of a dual-sided thing because on one hand, it's like, I spent the money on this fucking console. Like, you're still making other games for this, so why aren't you making these games for this console? So I feel like, especially with Sony specifically, I feel like that was definitely a PR move because they've had so much negative bullshit happen with their PlayStation 5, you know, complete insignificant, like it was a complete lack of self-awareness that they didn't put out enough consoles. They have all this legal bullshit that they're going through overseas. So I definitely feel like it was a huge PR move on their part to not fuck with those games, because if they started saying, so guys, hear me out, these are going to be PlayStation 5 exclusive and PlayStation 4 cannot play them, people would have jumped ship. I 100% guarantee it. People are already jumping ship. You know what I mean?
I mean, scalpers, man, they're gonna run you for your money.
Right. And honestly, I feel like scalpers really targeted PlayStation this year because they knew that their numbers were going to be low to begin with. So scalpers were like, "Yep, we're gonna really rock your shit this time."
It's like in Xbox's case, the scalpers are praying that they don't put out more consoles to just destroy their supply. But with PS5, it's literally the scalpers own the entire supply at the moment.
Right.
And it's going to be that way for a while.
They've essentially cornered the market on these scalped consoles. And that's just, and honestly, that's disgusting. I think it is. I think that should be illegal. I feel like scalpers should not be able to do that at all.
I'm all for that. I think if you are willingly buying and reselling an item for even twice like 200% markup, jail.
Straight to jail. Don't pass go.
It's like that scene from what show was that? Parks and Rec. The guy from like Brazil, he's like,
music too loud, straight to jail.
Cut your hair too short, straight to jail. Cook your fish too much, funny enough, straight to jail.
But exactly. But oh man, that's a good show, by the way. I actually watched that recently. I had never watched it, but I went through and watched it completely.
It's so fucking funny, ain't it?
It really is. Like, don't get me wrong, I love The Office, but I would even go to some extent to say that I like Park and Recs more.
I think it's because The Office is oftentimes cringe humor. The whole joke is, hey, we say some dumb shit that's either a little racist or a little sexist, and then we all cringe at it. Where Parks and Rec is like, here's just some dumbass jokes that are really funny because Andy Dwyer is hilarious.
Right. Have you seen the deleted scene of the it's like the
comeback story?
The comeback story. Oh my god. I had seen that prior to watching the show. Like I just saw it on some random, I think it was like it was a fucking Vine. When Vine was around, somebody had screen captured that and put that shit on Vine. And I thought that shit was funny. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that's Parks and Rec. And then the scene popped up in Parks and Rec. Obviously, he doesn't say that in the show. They say something completely different.
Which is a real shame.
It really fucking is, dude. But Chris Pratt says that in the deleted scene because I Googled it. And I saw it. And honestly, having watched the show made it 100 times funnier because I'm like, holy shit. But I don't know. I feel like in like, honestly, I feel like Parks and Rec really, I mean, it's kind of stupid at times and it's funny and it's slapstick and everything else. But it actually gives like positive like role models. Like I don't think that any of the people in the show, like if somebody were like, oh, that's my role model, I wouldn't be like, well, you probably shouldn't. You know what I mean? Because
how about no?
Right, but I don't say that with any of them because all of them, to some respect, are positive role models.
I think it's every character in Parks and Rec represents a part of life to look up to. You know,
right?
Tom is boisterous and loud, but confidence, we should all aspire to be that confident. And a guy with the mustache, Ron.
Yeah.
Just him in general. I can't name a single thing wrong with Ron.
I really can't either. I mean, Ron is a feminist. He even says
Bingo.
that. I mean, all the time in the show, he talks about that. Which honestly, like when I started the show, I honestly kind of felt like he'd be like, I honestly, people don't kill me. I know that people don't like it when we talk about this, but this is an open podcast. This is an open world. But I felt like he was going to really portray like toxic masculinity. But he doesn't. I mean, he's just he is a masculine person, but he's not a toxically masculine person, if that makes sense.
Well, have you watched the entire show?
Yeah, I've watched it start to finish.
I do think there are certain episodes where they tackle how he has old-fashioned senses of masculinity, and
Right.
it's a little toxic, like the one where he's competing against Leslie with their Boy Scout and Girl Scout groups.
Yeah.
And he's all like, no, camping is not supposed to be fun. Here's a gift of like 10 feet of
parchment or something.
Yeah, parchment you can cover yourself with. And it's like, you can tell it's not just he's being an asshole because he has an over glorified sense of manliness, but she's also trying her hardest to outperform him, which has created this unfair environment between the two kids, or two groups of kids.
But but I think that they even address that too. You know what I mean? Like they eventually address that to where certain people like certain things, and it's okay to like those certain things. There's no one way is better than the other, because they start like the Ron squad or whatever the hell it is for him.
Yeah,
for
like the Swanson squad.
Yeah, or something like that. And you're right. I feel like Ron Swanson, he has a very old fashioned sense of like how he does things, but none of it's like horrible. Also, I feel like the whole Tammy thing is the most hilarious thing that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Which Tammy?
Either one. I mean, first of all, his mom is named Tamara, but she goes by Tammy. And then Tammy 1, you only see her in that one episode or 2 episodes or whatever. But Tammy 2 is hilarious. That actress is completely hilarious. And did you know that her and Ron are married in real life?
I did. I heard about that.
Yeah,
which is amazing because it makes a lot of sense.
Really, it does. But oh man, that's such a good show.
Ooh, fun fact about that show. You know the scene where Ron is now working the private sector, and he has that group of building dudes. It's like him, Ron, Don.
It's like his brothers, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like his real life brothers.
Yeah, I said I thought are they really related in real life? You said.
Yeah.
Shit.
In fact, the actor, forget his name, but he says he's like the least manly of his brothers, which is just absurd.
It really is. What's his name now? I'm trying to think what his name is. Oh, I have it. It's like in the back of my head.
Call me a cheater because I'm just going to Google this one. Ron Swanson, Nick Offerman, that's it.
Nick Offerman, yeah.
Nick Offerman. My boy. Oh, man. He is just a gold mine. Like, every quote from that show, from him, I could probably turn into a whole spiel about life lessons.
I'd say I love all the stuff about him, like wanting to protect his identity. Like when he started getting cookies on his computer and they started like recommending him shit and calling him by his name, he just threw the fucker away.
Or when that drone dropped a gift for his child who had never been on the internet yet, so he shot it down.
Exactly. And that's when he decided to take down the company when he was working in the private sector.
God, just such a great show. I cannot say it enough.
For real, I was saying. So I feel like we've talked a lot about a lot of different stuff today.
Yeah, we still didn't get much into, actual gaming. I
will say we did have a pretty good. I feel like we had a really good conversation about like the pros and cons about having like pay to play online bullshit. I feel like we had a really good conversation about that. So hopefully people enjoy that.
Yeah, it's a start. Next week, hopefully we get to the topic I've been waiting for.
Oh yeah, I see that on here. Hopefully.
Fingers crossed. We'll see.
Oh, 1 second here. I'll close this out in just a moment here, but I gotta type something.
Just finishing up my final draft of my notes.
But all right, folks. So that being said, we're gonna close this off here. As always, if you like the video, give us a like, give us a subscribe, comment on the video, share us on anything, all that stuff, all that good stuff. And of course, follow us on Twitter, which, Salsa, I want you to tell your quick story about your changes that you've made.
Let me see. What have I changed? As you can see, as you are currently looking at my Twitter, and any fan should be looking at it right now, I have changed my logo, or my profile picture, to the original Salsa Shark. Have changed my banner, which now reads Ctrl Over C, a gaming podcast. 2 rad dudes talking about gaming in their personal lives. Gnarly. Gameplay and streaming on twitch.tv/Salsa Shark Jr. Absolutely banging. See you there, Space Cowboy.
And that actually brings me. Actually, I'll say my final piece, and then I will have Salsa close us out, because we do have a new final closing words, because why not? But I will include all of that information. Like we said, he used to be at red_the_writer, but now he is just at Salsa Shark, so it makes my life easier. And
at
I am
Salsa Shark Jr.
Junior, my bad, at Salsa Shark Jr. And I am at Pint Size Beast. And yeah, and obviously Geek-Stew is at geek_stew on Twitter, and on Facebook it is facebook.com/try the stew. But Salsa, close us out with the immortal words. I'm assuming this is from Cowboy Bebop, but close us out in the immortal words of Cowboy Bebop.
See you there, Space Cowboy.